There's a recent report about Patriots possibly being in on an offensive tackle for Green Bay. And I was wondering if you considered offensive tackle need.
I saw that report, and it's not true. He's under contract with Packers right now. And the two teams that were linked with that particular player both drafted left tackles in the first round last year, so I'm not sure how accurate that would be. Is offensive tackle a need? Vidarian's a free agent. Thayer's a free agent. And Morgan is 35 years old, and he played awesome this year, but he's 35 years old, so tackle would be a need for our team.
Thank you.
Do you still see Jared Wilson as someone who should be a center long term, or after last year left guard, is there any openness potentially keeping him there?
I think there's openness to everything with him. He had never played guard before, and he had good moments and bad moments, but he certainly has the physical ability to play there, and he's also got the intelligence and the vocal ability to play center. So I think those are conversations that we're still having.
To go back to offensive tackle just for a minute, you mentioned Morgan. Just because I don't know, has he given you the, impression that he's definitely coming back next year? He's not.
I am under that impression.
Okay.
Yes. I haven't heard anything otherwise. He was so great for us, not only on the field but off the field, kind of setting the tempo in that room. I definitely think he enjoyed it. He played every game, so that was a testament to his durability and toughness.
I know the primary goal is to draft and develop, but would you guys be willing to trade the first round pick if the right opportunity came about?
Yeah, we're open to anything. If we think it's going to help the team both in the short and long term, then it's something that we'll look at.
When it comes to evaluating offensive linemen, how much do you weigh someone who may give you value at multiple positions versus someone who's really super talented at one position that might not necessarily be a position that you like?
Yeah, I think you have to weigh those things. Where you're at in the draft, or financially certainly plays a part in that. As you get into the later rounds where you're maybe looking at backup players, that obviously the versatility is premium because you only get to take 8 of them to the game typically. But I think as we look at some of these guys, Will was a left tackle. Maybe some of these guys in the draft have only played left tackle. Those are things that we try to answer throughout workouts and trying to understand, if they can handle those things mentally and if they can play different positions.
Eliot, wanted to ask you about spending. Robert, around this time last year, made a comment about, if we go over the cap in terms of cash spent, the thing that he's asked in the past is that, in 3-year windows, you kind of get back to whatever the cap has been. You guys, I think, have been top half of the league in terms of spending each of the last 2 years. So does that mean that this off season, the spending has to reflect that rule of thumb that it sounds like Robert has?
Robert and Jonathan have been nothing but supportive of whatever we want to do to try to improve the team. And I think, like myself and Coach Vrabel being sort of stewards of that and understanding what's important, we haven't been told no very often, if at all. So we're excited to have their support and be able to try to build this thing, continuing to try to build this thing.
How do you go ahead?
I was just going to say, do you feel like you have a responsibility just in terms of like the long-term vision of the team to spend in a responsible manner, that might, benefit?
I always try to spend in a responsible manner.
I don't know the right word. The right word there is probably not responsible, but
Yeah.
Look, can you
we
guys be at the top of the league again in terms of spending to try to get back to a Super Bowl, or do you feel like that can't be a yearly occurrence?
I don't think that can be a yearly occurrence because those rules are in place for a reason. But I definitely think that again, we have the support to do what we think is necessary. Obviously, keeping it in we're not in a 1-year window. We have to try to plan for the future as well.
How do you view the need for a number one wide receiver? I think you guys had 7 different players lead the team in receiving in a game last year, but do you think the offense would benefit from like a traditional go-to guy?
I think you could look at it from a couple different ways there. Like obviously having more playmakers is a good thing. So yes, we are looking at the wide receiver position to try to improve depth and at the top as well. But also when you run your offense and you have one of these number one receivers, the quarterback can get in trouble by trying to force the ball to that person. So I know the way Josh has built the offense out, you're supposed to throw the ball to the open guy, and that's what we were able to do this year. And obviously there's a hierarchy of players who play the most snaps on third down and things like that. But to answer your question, basically, like the more playmakers we have, the better we're going to be.
I know a handful of Patriots from about a decade or so ago would always say that they would never go back and watch a Super Bowl loss. I'm curious if you had a chance to go back and watch it, even just to sit down and just kind of watch how it played out, or maybe grade it out, or from whatever perspective.
Yeah, I watched it. I had to get in a safe space mentally to try and do that. It's frustrating to the players and the coaches have worked so hard to get to that point and have it end the way it did. Is frustrating, but we understand that we have work to do, and it's just it's a big loss, but it's something that we can learn from as we move forward.
How will you approach negotiations with Christian Gonzalez when he's a player that has the potential to sort of reset the blanket?
Yeah, I mean, Christian obviously was good before and made an even more significant jump this year. He's someone that we want to work with in the future, obviously, and we'll have those conversations at the appropriate time.
Does getting to the Super Bowl perhaps earlier than perhaps even you imagined, does that alter your thinking in terms of your approach to bringing players in, or what, maybe you're 1 or 2 or 3 players away or something, or are you still in that kind of, well, this is a 3-year, 4-year rebuild process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'd use the phrase or the term rebuild. I think we're always trying to retool. I know Coach Vrabel used the thing about building a house or trying to improve the house. I think that's appropriate. Having made the Super Bowl in year 1 of Coach Vrabel's program is really cool, obviously. But we're throughout the season and even into the playoffs and the Super Bowl, we're all aware that we have more work to do on the roster, and so I don't think that the fact that we made the Super Bowl does anything other than possibly make us a more attractive destination for free agents. So again, we were attractive before because of Drake and because of Coach Vrabel, and now that we've had established a winning culture that we hope we can maintain, it makes us even more attractive.
You mentioned watching the Super Bowl. Did the postseason run for you as a team builder highlight weaknesses on your roster, the areas for you to really focus on improving this offseason?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's not just the playoffs, but it's when you start playing the teams that are better. I love going to the playoffs. My mind, I'm kind of volatile on game day, so my mindset in the playoffs is different. I'm almost calmer in the playoffs because it's like, all right, like we're going to play the Chargers, let's go see if we're any good, because the playoffs, that's when the season really starts in a lot of ways. So we were able to win a few games, and then obviously lost the last one, and each game was different, but to your point, I think it did highlight some areas that we need to improve.
Caleb on Chason posted something to social media saying, "I'm back." Is there anything you could do to kind of clear that up? We're saying, well, that means he's back in the fold, or he's back here.
I don't know. I mean, we've had conversations with him and his representative, and we'll continue to try to see what happens in free agency.
Do you guys plan on having Harold Landry back next season? He dealt with a knee injury for a lot of last year.
Yeah, I mean he's got to first and foremost he's got to try and get healthy, and again another culture guy that came in and really was able to deliver and act upon Coach Vrabel's messaging to the defense. So yeah, we would expect him back.
When you look at the edge position, just what kind of traits do you guys look for in those types of players?
Pass rush, speed and violence, explosiveness, first step quickness, the ability to win in multiple ways. You can't just be an edge, run around the hoop guy at this level. There's some guys in college that are able to be successful that way, but you need different things in your toolbox. I think the guys that can rush with power are maybe at more of a premium. The guys that can are athletic and can rush with power. So that's why. I mean, everyone's looking for pass rushers in the league. It's not just going to be us. So, we'll see if we can improve that spot.
With tight end being one of your positions of need, are there certain things you're looking for in that spot? Obviously, there's so many different types of players at that position.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you go back and look at Josh's offenses over the years, there's been a ton of different players, different sizes and skill sets that he's been able to utilize. So, that's something that we'll kind of fine tune here as we spend more time with these players here in the draft, and then obviously looking at the free agents. But Hunter we have, and Westover and CJ Dupree, and then Hoop's a free agent. So we'll kind of see what happens with that room.
It might be more of a question for Mike, but any thoughts on Zach getting the interim tag removed as defensive coordinator? Just maybe the level of consistency, continuity there that he tries to do.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Zach did a great job this year. And Terrell was still here behind the scenes when he was able to be, and that was really, really beneficial to Zach. And I really thought the whole defensive staff. I mean, I think a lot of them had worked together before, but they were really able to come together, and the level of respect that they showed for Terrell and Zach and the whole process, not letting that be a major distraction, which it could have been. And piggybacking that, the success we had on the field was a testament to those guys, and really proud that they're going to be back.
Eliot, how might Stefan's legal situation that he's dealing with right now impact his standing with the team moving forward?
We're monitoring those situations, and we'll just kind of see what comes of it. I know he had a hearing last week or 2 weeks ago, but yeah, we're monitoring those situations not only with our legal and security department, but also with Steph's people as well. Is it really important, do you think, for your team and the performance on the field to bring him back, just given what he gave to you guys in the field this past year? Yeah, Steph had a tremendous season. Again, the leadership that he showed was great, and these are conversations that we'll continue to have and weigh everything and talk about different things as we move forward.
Eliot, just want to clarify something you said about wide receivers are perhaps going for a number one. You talked about the offense being predicated on finding the open guy and spreading the ball around. Does that mean it would preclude you from wanting like a diva receiver who would demand the ball?
We'd prefer not to have a diva receiver, but look, the receiver position is interesting. Like you've got to want the ball. Like you definitely don't want a receiver that doesn't want the ball. Mm-hmm. So it's all about how they manage that off the field, right? So we definitely want guys that want the ball in key moments and critical situations.
At receiver, what do you think of Kyle's rookie year? And you see someone you can see taking on a bigger role this year.
Yeah, Kyle played in every game. He was available, and the way we used him was as more of a speed player, which he definitely has. But I think he's got more in him that he could show. He's got to get stronger. I think he'd be the first one to tell you that. But the fact that he was able to play in I think all 21 games for us was a testament to his ability to be available.
How do you feel about the kick returner spot? And is that the kind of place where you'd like to see more or less of Travion? I know he had one return in the Super Bowl, but it was mostly Terrence back there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an area that we could certainly improve. I know Travion had the one in the preseason, and then he was doing it a little bit. As we adjust, and every team adjusts to the new rules and different things, like our blocking needs to kick up a notch, and I think part of that would be having an explosive returner that could be back there. Really once Antonio got hurt, that really set us back in that area, and we'll look to try to improve that as well.
Speaking of Antonio, obviously you guys cut him. Do you see any other cap-saving moves coming on the horizon?
These are conversations that we're continuing to have. Every year is faced with difficult decisions on some guys that have been here, and our players are aware that we're going to try to. Mike told the team we're always looking for younger, cheaper, better, faster, all those things. So I think our team's aware of that.
Eliot, I'm assuming you're monitoring the legal situation with Barmore also. He's had a couple off the field incidents over the course of the last couple of years. I know this recent one is alleged. Is he the kind of person that you guys want to continue investing in?
Yeah, I mean, Christian, has grown up quite a bit, and we continue to help him with that, and he continues to want to make improvements in that area. So, yeah, he's continued to improve on the field. He had a little bit of a lull in the middle of the season there. He wasn't playing quite as well, but kicked it up again at the end, and continues to be a key cog in there for us.
How hard is it for you? And, Mike has talked in the past about, not all 52 guys can be Boy Scouts. You can't get to where we're trying to get with a bunch of good guys. I think it's always been the past. But you do want a certain type of person, it sounds like, at the same time. So how do you balance those two maybe competing ideas?
Yeah, again, I think again, everyone wants everyone to be great. You never want to get the phone call from the security director at night. But this is the world we live in. We expect everyone to behave and act like they're a professional and they're representing not only themselves but their family, their team, the crafts, like everyone. So as we try to build this thing moving forward, we're gonna continue to try to take good people.
Okay, the final question, guys.
How do you feel about the linebacker spot? You got a lot of veteran depth. I know Jack Gibbons is hitting free agency, but is that a spot where you could potentially look to get a little bit younger?
Yeah, potentially. I think we'd like to maybe address that in the draft. It looks like a good year at linebacker as well. But we are happy with the group that we have. I think Christian Ellis, took a step forward, and Spillane was really good when he was out there, and Gibbons carved out a role for himself. We had a role for Tavai. Mapu had his role. So yeah, it's an area where we have a lot of kind of different pieces, and the defensive staff was able to try to maximize that for us.
So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Eliot.
thanks, I appreciate it.